In this exercise, we're going to learn how to create a site for our building complex. To do this, we first need to come underneath Site in our project browser. Under Floor Plans, we're going to open up the Site view. From here, we can zoom out so we can see the outer extents of where we may draw our site to. Now we need to use the Site tools, or in particular the Topo surface tool, to draw in where our site is going to be located at. To do this, come underneath the Massing and Site tab and pick on Topo Surface. Where it says Elevation, let's give this an elevation of 3 feet. And the first spot that we're going to pick is going to be in the upper left-hand side of the screen. Pick another spot straight across from that previous spot that you picked, but in the upper right-hand side of your screen. For the next elevation, make this be a much smaller number. In this case, we're going to do -4 feet. Click somewhere right in this general location. What it's done is it's automatically created our different contour lines from this elevation down to this elevation. Click again down over in this area, and we can see it continuing to create our site and the contour lines that are associated with that. As for the elevation I like to have around the building, let's make this be -8 inches. Pick each of the corners that are going around our building. By doing this, those spots are at -8 inches. You can start to see that this is sort of going around our buildings now instead of going directly through the buildings, and it's all starting to flow down and in this direction. So if any water starts to fall due to rain or whatever the case may be, it's going to start to flow toward and then ultimately around our building down toward this portion of the site. Now that we've done that, click on the big green check mark to finish that off. Come up here to the top and click on the little house icon, the 3D view command. Here's the site with its contours. If we move down here to the visual styles, we can even turn on shaded to start to see some color. You can spin your model around by holding down the shift key as well as the wheel on the mouse to see how it's sloping down. Our building is currently sitting right there on the site. So we were able to create this topo surface, also known as a site, by coming up here on the Massing and Site tab and then picking on Topo Surface and picking each of these points and setting the appropriate elevations for each of those point locations. One of the things we may wish to enter on a site plan will be to put trees and plants somewhere on the site. To do that, underneath the Massing and Site tab, we can find there's an option there for Site Components. Select on Site Component, look underneath Properties, and here we can see that there's a variety of different types of shrubs, plants, and trees that we can place inside of our Revit project. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look here in the list. I'm going to select red maple down toward the bottom, and I'm going to pick a few spots where I want to have some red maple trees. I'll put one over here close to my building so we can see it pretty easily, and a few more over here, so maybe it's kind of a nice little wooded area. Let's put a few plants or shrubs next to the building. Just sort of go through here and pick ones that you might like to place. I'm going to pick this tiny little Japanese fern. And you can see how the scale is different depending on the plant that you place. I'll put just a few more in here on the site. Also, put a few shrubs in. And put a few of those in these locations. One of the things that you can see is depending on the type of plant that it is, it'll have a different symbol for different types of plants. The interesting thing is, though, is that if it comes time to render these plants, they will all render as the type of plant that they actually are. Now, let's take a look at this inside of a 3D view. Now, we can either come up to 3D, or we have a camera currently outside of our building that should enable us to see what this looks like. Double-click on 3D View 1. Here, we can see the different plantings that are at the outside of our building. The little bushes, the big tree here in the background. If we want to expand this view out, we can select on the box going around the outside of the view, click on the control button, and pull it out slightly. Same way here, pull it out slightly to see what our building looks like with these bushes and trees. Now, the most interesting thing about these kind of objects is that they're not hosted directly to a level. they're actually hosted to the site. So if the site slopes down, each of the trees, each of the bushes will come in at the appropriate height to be able to sit at the site at that elevation. So to place trees, bushes around the outside of your building, simply come up to Massing and Site and then choose your site components and place them anywhere you need them around your building.